So today I'm going to be installing rear brakes and stainless brake lines on my 2018 Golf GTI. It has the performance pack brakes, and I'm also putting in Motul brake fluid and doing a full flush on the car. Making this video just because there's one or two things that when I was watching videos I noticed they kind of left out. Main thing just being sockets and socket lengths that you should have on hand. This is the second time I've done Mark 7 brakes, but of course I forgot. So I said, why not make a video, try and show off my new Club Sport S brakes and show you how to install these rear brakes and hopefully point out that one kicker that stopped me from getting this all together in one day, and also just show off the new Motive power bleeder I recently purchased. So I'm gonna get into it now, and yeah, enjoy the show. So if you can't tell, the rears are not in that bad a condition. I'm mostly replacing them for sake of consistency and so that I have the same pads all around, and I don't want to really pad slap these rotors. But yeah. So those are the old brakes. And you can see also how everything else has held up over time. Bilstein coils. You can see where our new brake line will go. And you can see that the paint is starting to chip away on those calipers. Only the rear calipers are doing that though. So first step here will be to take the caliper off. So take out the two slide pins, then take the caliper carrier off, get the rotor off. So top tip for getting the calipers off is to have a way to hold it. So I'm using a bucket. I'm just gonna put it like that and rest the caliper on it. It also doesn't matter if I put any strain on it since I'm replacing that hose anyway. And then the other tools you'll want to have are going to be a 15 millimeter that is very thin, so either a stamp steel wrench, or you can buy a cheap wrench and grind it down. That's what I did. This is a Home Depot one. And then you also need a 13 millimeter to actually take the slide pins off for the first step. And the last tool you'll need is a 14 millimeter stubby triple square, and I'm going to get into that later. But right now we're just taking the caliper off and getting the pads out. So these are the tools we need. So you can see these pads are pretty decent, at least when compared to the fronts, but they are pretty low. They might have, I'd say 35% left, so I'm not wasting them, but I probably could have got another year out of them pretty easily. Fronts, for reference, were cracked and in pretty rough shape. They were cracked, burnt, bent, all like I've never seen pads that bad, but I did also do a few track days. Okay, so we have the caliper off. Next step is to take the caliper carrier off. You have to take this off to get this rotor off. And I'll have to wiggle this hub centering ring off as well. But yeah, so you can see, I will point out, hopefully, as I was saying, I'll point out where caliper carrier bolts are, so you can see this is the top and this is the rear. So it's easy to get to this one from the side and that one from the bottom, just sticking your head under. But there is indeed a trick to everything. So these are 14mm triple squares, those caliper carrier bolts. They're also, I believe, stretch bolts, but I'm not replacing them. I'm just putting Loctite on. But you can see here I've got 3 sets of triple squares. Like I said, I've done Mark 7 brakes before, but somehow I couldn't take these carriers off. Even these shorter ones, which I had purchased to have a shorter set around, these are not short enough, so I had to go and pick out a set of ultra stubby triple squares. So I'm going to use this to get those carrier bolts off. It might be difficult to get footage of that though. Okay, so there's the carrier off. I will be cleaning this, but now we're just left with the rotor to take off and see if this will come off. So I'm going to use probably an impact just to shock this off. It's a T30. Okay. I need to use the impact. Okay. Well, here we have the hub. You also see a little bit of surface rust here. So I'm probably going to wire wheel this clean. So I have cleaned off the carriers decently enough, as well as the caliper. See the ground's a little wet. Also applied some anti-seize and a little bit of like rust inhibitor to these rust spots. I wish I had some rust converter, but I don't, so I can't really spray paint them, and I'm not gonna wait. But yeah, you can see caliper's all cleaned up. So next I'll put the new rotor on, wind that piston back, caliper carrier, put that back, then probably brake hose, and then put the caliper back on, or something in that order. So next, I'm just gonna clean off and lubricate the caliper slide pins. Let's see, last time I used Permatex orange on these, and I really don't believe in it. I've since become very big on Paget, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so now we're going to put the rotor on. Dousing the holding screw in anti-seize. Careful. Aligning it. I'm just screwing in this holding screw. Undo this by hand. Doesn't need to be tight either. Okay, so we got a new rotor on. It's a pretty sweet Zimmerman rotor. Not as cool as the fronts, but I guess we're gonna put the carriers back on. I'm gonna put some Loctite on the bolts, clean them up and shit. And yeah. All right, so carrier bolts cleaned up, Loctited. A little bit of Loctite in here too. This is the gel Loctite, so if it looks like a lot, it's not really. So I'm gonna seat this, and yeah. Stuff like this is always better on the way back in. Okay, so now you can see I've got the pads, the rotor installed. I've also got the pad lubricator in the back, lubricator in the slides, on the brackets, all that good stuff. So the next step is I have to wind back that caliper. So to do that, I actually have to use a tool, which basically has like 2 pins. They go in and then they twist with it. This is just how VW parking brakes work. And also I've loosened the cap. So once we get into this, it won't build up too much pressure in the brake system. It's usually a good idea just to loosen it. So yeah, I'm gonna pick out the right face for this tool. It's pretty cool, it just goes together like this. I mean, based on my usage, I think it's probably at number 7, just because I've done so many of these. And I'll try and video that. Okay, so now we will check out this wind back tool. First things first, I'm just gonna see if this is the right end. Yes, it is. to seat it up. Tighten this up, and then so now got it wound in. I'm just gonna loosen up. It'll probably be so yeah. Now we have a caliper wound all the way back. See the pistons retracted. So what I will do, take a little bit of Paget and I'm gonna apply it on the inside of here and on the piston. This is just to keep it from corroding, but also for anti-squeal. Okay, so caliper back on. Now what we will do is we will put the slide pin screws back. All right, so I don't know where my video cut out, but all I've done so far is tightened up the caliper. So the caliper's on, slide pin bolts, or I don't know. Slide pins are secured, caliper carriers are secured, so the brakes are all back together. Just need to change that hose. I don't know how well I'm gonna video this. I might even just cut it all out completely. So if so, there is the brake uninstall and reinstall. Here's how the new brakes look with Hawk HPS 5.0 pads and Zimmerman rotors. And I will at least show you guys once this is done, but who knows, maybe I'll try and video it. All right, so I have gotten the stainless steel brake line fitted. Couldn't video it, it's just too hard having the Gorilla Pod. I've only got the Gorilla Pod, and where it's short and kind of wide, 3 legs, but low to the ground, it's just in the way, and it's a really quick process when you install the brake line, but you know, simply you take off this flare fitting, or the nut off this flared end for the hard brake line, and then also there's a bolt with 2 crush washers, a banjo bolt that goes into the caliper. So I'm just tighten those up. I think I did the banjo bolt up to 25 foot-pounds because I'm kind of crazy, kind of paranoid of stripping out my calipers. So yeah, so now I'm at the brake bleed process. I'm using a motive power bleeder, just trying to evacuate any air bubbles from the brake lines. Doing it at 29 PSI, but yeah, you can kind of see it's running pretty clear. There's 1 or 2 little bubbles, a little bit of junk too. But yeah. I really love the power bleeder though. It's easy, it's simple. There's no guesswork, and yeah, trying to do a two-man, like it's possible, but I don't think I would do it again unless I was in a pinch or like literally had weeks and weeks of free time where I couldn't give a shit about how frustrating and how long it would take, and where I wouldn't want to drive the car for a while. So I highly recommend a power bleeder. And as I stated previously, I am putting Motul 5.1 fluid into here. So yeah, I'm gonna bleed this, and then the install will be done. And so that's the install. It went pretty easily. Sorry for not including all parts. Some parts are just really difficult to record with installs like this. But yeah, we'll eventually post a review of the pads and rotors, and stay tuned for other videos.